reason I'm giving you sheep milk is because I'm trying to get you hooked.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right. Let's see if you like it.
I'm gonna waterfall it.
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't spill it all over my face.
If you do, people do it all the time. They waterfall and spill it on themselves. Let me see how it is though. I milked it a couple hours ago, but I haven't refrigerated it. Yeah.
It tastes like cream.
Yeah, it's still it's a little bit sweeter normally. It's because it's been I didn't
it tastes like cream.
refrigerate it. It has lost a tinge of its sweetness, so it's even sweeter than that. Is that pretty good?
Oh my god, it's so good.
So now you know, like that's why I am advocating this so hardcore, because it's not only
It's so good.
It's not only palatable, it's nutritious, and the quantity that you have to get down your gullet is a fraction of and more efficient than anything else that we have to spend time cooking and processing. I can sit here literally all day and do work on the internet with my phone right here and not have to stop and cook. And if I did want to cook, this GoSun makes it like extremely efficient. I absolutely hate cooking by fire now, unless
hard cooking by fire.
Yeah, it's just it's
messy and it's
we're so like spoiled with the ability to just turn a fucking knob and turn on the gas range.
Totally.
And so the GoSun is like is actually more efficient than a gas range, and so that helps helps me personally, and I'm hoping that these things will help other activists in the future stay focused and stay working their magic, because the world needs it right now. We don't need any more distractions.
I find goat's milk to be I can't.
It's all right the first like 3 times or so that you drink it in 1 week, and then that's my cutoff point. Like same thing with eggs.
So
I have
intense.
unlimited access to eggs right now.
Yeah.
And I used to really like when I first started embarking on trying to figure out how I could what I needed to sustain my diet without the artificial economy. I really liked raw eggs, and then that got distasteful, and then I ended up having to reduce it to just the egg yolks. Like the egg whites started to get to me, my palate started to become distasteful, and then the egg yolks recently, in the last 6 months, I'd say, have really gotten turned me off. And but
I've had that with eggs before.
the one thing that I have consistently consumed every single day for 7 years now is sheep milk.
Yeah.
And it is an absolute anomaly in my mind that I can't even foresee it becoming an appalling or overwhelming flavor, because it doesn't have a flavor. And because it doesn't have a flavor, like there's actually nuances in the flavor depending on what they eat that you can pick out that helps to vary your perceived consumption food. Yeah, you're.
I think I understand what you're saying.
We're so domesticated to have such an availability of different flavors and eating experiences to satiate us, to feel satiated, that it is really difficult. That's one of the most difficult things, I think, that when you first try to go on a local food security kick, and you try to see how purist you can make your diet on just locally available bought or traded food, you start to feel like your domesticated spectrum of habituated availability of different foods is being narrowed, and it feels you can feel it when you're trying to work trade on a farm and you're trying to eat the vegetables and the meat that they have. Even if they had goat milk, the goat milk, I remember the first time I had goat milk trying to do that, it felt like, oh, this is really helping to switch it up or fill in that unsatiable feeling, and but then it quickly let me down
Yeah.
when I got my own goats. So I got my own goats, and I was
This is like too much.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so I was really disappointed, and then I almost gave up and just like crawled back to society and like just totally gave up. And then I worked on a dairy sheep farm, and that's when I was like, oh my god, this is so different. Why is it different? I don't know. 7 years later, I still don't know.
Yeah, it's so different.
Yeah.
Goat's milk, and cheese and any yogurt, anything, even when people say it doesn't taste like goat's milk, I'm like, it still freaking hits my throat and I want to go and I don't want to swallow it. So, but this, sheep's milk.
If you got a
good.
container, I can give you somebody to go. That's what I was wanting, because
I would love that.
I have so much right now that I can't consume. I'm forcing myself to consume too much. And if I consume a gallon a day, that's borderlining too much, especially if I drink any one drinking meal in there that's too large to try to empty out my vessel. Because if I milk into this and then I pour into my kefir or my milk jar, there's after the kefir starts kefering, I can't pour more milk on top of it. I gotta wait, and then the milk, if it is already chilled, and then I'm pouring warm milk on top of it, then that just helps it to speed along its spoiling. And so what I end up doing is, okay, I got a fucking milk, and I got a quarter gallon of milk left, and I'm about to milk them out and get another quarter gallon. I gotta down that quarter gallon. A quarter gallon is 1,000 calories. Yeah. That's like
that's a lot.
That's a big fucking meal.
Yeah, that's a big meal.
Yeah. So I don't. That's like.
I would love to take some off your hands.
Yeah, sure. If you got a jar.
I'll go I'll go rustle up a jar.
And then you can throw it back in your fridge or whatever, and it'll keep it a lot better than sheep milk is also very freezable. It's the most freezable milk compared to the other milks. It doesn't harm the fat globules, so that you can make cheese with it with frozen sheep milk just as well as you can raw sheep milk. But if you try to freeze goat or cow milk, or I don't know about the other types of milk, but cow and goat milk you can't freeze and then try to make cheese out of it. It won't coagulate, it won't curd in the right way.
Oh, interesting.
So that's another good
Okay.
thing about sheep milk. Yeah, grab a
Cool,
bottle
I'll
and
be
give you
right
some.
back.
And you can throw it in your fridge for later. And hopefully you can get some other people hooked. I got to keep the whole wagon under 300 pounds for my 150-pound ram. You're not supposed to make them pull on flat ground with no headwind. You're not supposed to make them pull any more than twice their body weight. So
And you can't have two rams pulling.
it wouldn't be the tightest ship example that I can give people is having 3 ewes and 1 ram. That is something that I can foresee everyone who has 2 legs and 2 functioning arms able to do.
Okay.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Like even if your ram is mean, you can I know how to work with them. It's really not complicated at all to where you can't get hurt. And they won't even try to attack you. Like the only reason they try to attack you is you think they're trying to attack you is because they don't want you to stop giving them attention. That's the whole reason. They're actually just really insecure love bugs. And so you just have to like when you're tethering them out, you have to stake them out and then walk them from their halter to the end of their leash before letting go of the leash. Because if you stake them out and then you go walking away from them, you're like, oh, good boy, and then you go walking away from them, they're gonna like, no, don't stop, and they're gonna hit you because they don't have hands to grab your hand and put it back on, and make, or they don't have a voice to say, hey, keep petting me. So the only way they know of getting each other's attention is with headbutts. So that's.
And so it's actually not an attack.
They're not attacking. They're not attacking you. They're not. But if you refuse to give them the attention that they want, then they revert to the secondary what they would like second, which is any type of physical interaction with you. And the physical interaction they're used to is rough play, basically. And so they're not actually trying to hurt you at first, but if you try to hurt them, then they're trying to hurt you in a playful way, but they're so fucking strong that you're not gonna put that together. You're gonna think that they're trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Because you just try to hit them with a shovel and they're trying to continue to come at you, and it's like you don't even know that like when they hit their heads together, that is 10 times harder than any swing of a shovel you could bestow on their head.
Wow, really?
It's like they're so hard-headed and so strong that their idea of rough play is scary to us. And that's what.
So you can't do two. You can't do 2 rams.
You can't do 2 rams. You can do 2 rams, but again, it's not a scalable thing. And anything that I'm doing has to be scalable because why the fuck else do it?
Right.
And then there's the other half of the why would I want to overcomplicate my own life? You know, besides making an overcomplicated example for someone else to fucking waste their time.
Gotcha.
And so the other half of it is that if you have 2 males, then they're gonna fight. The other main aspect of it is that having to tether out 2 males to prevent them from running the females around every time that you want to stop on the side of the road takes twice as long to stake them out, twice as long to go gather them. But most importantly, is strategically impossible oftentimes to find 2 places that are that are far enough away from each other that they don't come together and get tangled on their tethers, and that there isn't anything around that is tall enough to obstruct and get their tether wrapped up, like tall weeds or saplings or trees.
Gotcha.
Like
it's like really logistics problem.
It's a logistics
Yeah.
mainly. And so that's why I can't like if I want to have my if I want to park here tonight right here and sleep, and I want to have my I encourage my sheep to stay as close as I can, so tethering my rams out as close as I can, I can't tether a ram. You'd think that I'd be able to tether them right there, but there's a water sprinkler right there that they get bored and they start rubbing up against. They could break it off. So it's like these. And then like the only place I could stake one out right here, and then I could stake out one like back there, and that's just an idea of how it limits you when you start to have 2 tethered animals as opposed to just 1.
Yeah, but it was a big problem because they can't do anything with the bulls. They have to,
because they're sacred.
No, because they can't be with the other cows. It's like
you can't have too many males.
Yeah, and they didn't want any. They just wanted to like milk them.
But India, they're sacred, huh?
They are. So what would happen is not that they would get killed, is that they would
let them go.
Be that, or they would just go. They would be like a work bull.
A draft bull. Oh.
Yeah.
If you could go throw this in your freezer.
Yeah.
Cold as you can keep it,
Okay.
Because that's like that's perfect right now, and it's gonna start. I can consume that the next day or so.
Okay, cool.
Because there's more sugar in sheep milk, it does spoil faster. Spoiling isn't. Raw milk can't spoil. It can only go sour and then turn into clabber. It's never non-edible.
What is clabber? Is clabber? That's not yogurt.
Clabber is just like farm cheese. If you just set that out in the sun right now, in like an hour to 24 hours, it would separate, and the whey and the soft farmer cheese on top. That's clabber.
Okay, gotcha.
But it never goes bad. But if you want to keep it sweet, throw it in your fridge right now.
Cool, I will.
I think that's the most important thing to be right now is flexible. And that gets back to what we discussed as not giving a fuck what your loved ones think, because they're the biggest inhibitor to flexibility.
Yeah.
And Christ told us, he said, in order to follow my way, and his way is the epitome of flexibility. It's following Spirit after prayer and after genuine seeking direction from outside yourself, seeking it from something that is beyond you and greater than you. That God, you can call it God, whatever. That is more important to follow than what your loved ones thinks. And so there's even things that they left in the Bible that talk directly about that. In order to follow in order to follow me, you'll have to hate. They say hate your mother, father, sister, and brother, but it's actually more you have to forego caring about what they think. That's really what it means.
Yeah.
So I'm having hard lessons and expectations of a lot of people. Like the first lesson seems like and doing good is to not expect there to be a return for yourself. But then the next lesson is actually much harder. It's having no expectations of any results at all.
Oh, yeah. Passionate commitment to the process without attachment to the outcome.
Yep. That's really hard.
Yeah.
Especially when you see people about to suffer.
Yeah.
That makes the world of difference. That's everything. Like it wouldn't be a problem if we weren't in this fucking shitstorm right now, this information war. I would have no problem not giving a fuck what anyone thought right now and just like going off and being a shepherd for a farmer, you know?
Yeah.
In a place where no one saw me.
Yeah.
You know? But we got buses going through here. The kids love seeing the sheep, you know? My sheep literally graze right next to the road all the way around. They'll start in that corner and they'll go all the way around, but because there's 3 foot of gravel before the road, they have no reason to go near the road. And so we don't need fences, and it's really cool example for other people to even if there's one person that one kid 10 years from now, after they graduate.
That goes, you know what
I want to do with that.
Yeah.
I saw that dude just chilling every fucking single day, chilling in his wagon with his awesome sheep. And why am I working this shitty job? I could just go make a wagon like that and do what he did and do subsistence living.
Yeah.
And subsistence is the best resistance. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Hopefully we can all move towards that direction.
Yeah. It's very interesting, and I'm not even. Like I said on the phone, I'm not a subsistence farmer, even if I have like goals. But people reacting to me being in a van and not having a clock to punch into it's really intense. They get really intense about it. Like, what are you doing? How are you doing it? You must be rich. And it's like, no, I'm not. I just don't need very much, and I don't believe in jobs.
There's a certain window of between what you're doing is roughly in between what regular houses is what homeless people call derogatorily and what I do. You're in between, and what was unforeseen to me, and what I try to point out to other people who are embarking in this direction is that if your ship, so to speak, your abode is too nice, it actually is going to spark underlying jealousy in everyone. It's going to spark jealousy from the people that are socioeconomically under you because you have a Sprinter and they have a regular down by the river van. And then it's going to spark jealousy from the people who are in homes and locked into fucking loans and having to work at fucking 2-3 jobs in order to pay their mortgage. Their ball and chain, they're pissed off about secretly, even though they're like, I've got land. Totally. But that's one of their biggest insecurities is that they are ball and chained to that property physically and financially. And to see someone who's mobile, who, here's the key, is doing it in a way that they themselves could possibly see themselves doing it, then that actually makes them want to do it, but they can't admit it to you. So then they rail against you in passive aggressive ways.
Yeah.
Get up. Lemmy's over there. I stopped socializing my sheep with people so that they don't approach other people.
Got it. Well,
in the future. So just so you know.
I don't need to pet any lambs.
Yeah, don't encourage them if they try to beg you.
Yeah, I don't expect that this is a petting zoo.
Yeah.
It's actually not good.
So anyway, just so you're aware that that's going on. A lot of people aren't recognizing that you actually have enemies on both sides of you economically, socioeconomically on the socioeconomic ladder. You on both sides of you have, unbeknownst to a lot of people who are van lifing and sprinters, you have you're going to catch questionable interactions that you just don't understand, and if you interject that overstanding that they want what they can't have, and you have it, that's the account for the anomalies in their treatment of you.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I the way I felt, the last person that said this to me, I felt like she really just like couldn't conceive of her days not working. Like she's so like.
Some of them are genuinely like they're not being malicious. They might subconsciously still have that jealousy, and so they're subconsciously questioning you in a way that like tries to delegitimize what you're doing, so that it consequently legitimizes what they're doing. That's all subconscious. I mean, 99% of the people, but there's a lot of people who are consciously trying to work harder to derail you from having this lifestyle.
Yeah.
So when people are making wagons, I'm telling, don't make it any bigger than this, because you'll start to fucking tread on that thin ice. I don't understand why there aren't people lining up to apprentice.
Yeah.
Especially with all like the bullshit fucking fuck the white man's oppressive system. What are you gonna do about it? We have a pharmaceutical officialdom that has done so much to build fear in our minds of everything that is a natural route to everything. Abortions is definitely one of them. And specifically within there is parasite treatment. Have you looked into parasite? Like you know that every human has on average
we're more bacteria and parasites than we are.
We're more bacteria, but we're not supposed to be parasites. But we do on average, like I think it's 5 years ago, this study that I had read. I don't know what it is nowadays because people eat more processed food, and I don't know if it's exploded or whatever. But they said on average, they found that humans have on average 7 parasites, different parasites, and not necessarily visual ones. Some of them are microscopic. But if you have ever eaten sushi in your life, they said that on average those people have 52 parasites in them.
Whoa!
And so what I'm trying to relate this to abortion, natural abortions, is that natural abortions are always using plants that are anti-parasitic. That is the one thing I will agree with feminists who try to just write off babies as being parasites. Your body does treat it like that. It's a dependent, and so all abortifacient plants, herbal plants, are anti-parasitic, and that's the reason they're abortifacient.
Interesting.
And so if you look into history, one of the main herb that humans have used in history to combat parasite loads, overt parasite loads in their system, is turpentine.
Turpentine?
Have you heard turpentine?
Yeah.
Well, okay, 50 years ago, get this. This is a huge conspiracy. 50 years ago, the pharmaceutical company sought to, and I don't think it was just the pharmaceutical company. I think they know that parasites lead to I don't know if you've heard this, but parasites have recently, in the last 10 years, been proven to connect themselves to our central nervous system and actually influence our thoughts and decisions in ways that benefits its colony. And we're talking like sexual impulses. Parasites will actually influence you to have promiscuous sex so that they can jump hosts.
Whoa.
And so, so the point is that they feed impulses, and the officialdom has an vested interest in us having irrational impulses, so that we buy and that we become less self-sufficient, at the very least. And so what they did 50 years ago is that the pharmaceutical industry / the industrial chemical industry came out with a completely different, not completely different. They came out with a turpentine that they called turpentine that was actually it was actually an industrial byproduct. That was poisonous. It is poisonous. And they conflated it with the original word
What's
turpentine.
the original turpentine?
So the original turpentine, this is what all of our ancestors did, okay?
Yeah.
They just, in the same way that you slash a tree with V's in order to stick a pail underneath it and catch the sap and then get the maple syrup out of it.
Yeah, it's pine. Is it
Pine, exactly. And so they would just
I've read about this.
They would just collect the sap and then they would stick it in a distiller, and then the volatile oils that came off of it was turpentine.
Yeah.
And they would take a teaspoon of it every once in a while and would knock out their parasites, and it would make them clear-headed and more fucking able to operate. And parasites make you cloudy-headed too. So the officialdom has an invested interest in perpetuating our parasite loads to keep us stupid. And so, yeah, 50 years ago, around 50 years ago, they came out with the industrial version of turpentine and didn't make any efforts to distinguish the two, the new from the old, the industrial waste byproduct that's poisonous to the old, anciently used natural herb, herb oil, basically. And so then the people that were selling natural turpentine and the people that were on YouTube advocating the natural use of natural turpentine, they used that new, the existence of the toxic industrial version to say that what they were promoting, what they were selling, is medical, disinformation. And they, like 3 years ago, they went through and they took off all of the people who were advocating turpentine use for internal parasites.
Wow.
If you're what is that guy's name? Sun something Dan?
No.
Sun. He was a big YouTuber. He had like 1 million, and he was the biggest one that was advocating the turpentine. Just took him out. And I remember like 2 years later, I was like, whatever happened to that Sun Fruit Dan? That was his name, Sun Fruit Dan.
Sun Fruit Dan.
Do you remember him?
No.
He was a badass. He was doing like a whole channel on like natural health, and at the time he was fruitarian. And then he realized that was like killing him, and he quit that and got back on. And you can actually see his digression in his body and his health. And then when he starts bringing in meat again, he's
way better.
Yeah, way better.
Yeah.
And veganism itself is part of the globalist agenda to malnourish us, because to get us to malnourish ourselves. Everything has a spiritual element of you have to invite the vampire into your home type shit, like
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. And so the vegan agenda, okay, this is the biggest thing that I feel can expose the vegan agenda. The fact that half of our body's needed vitamins and nutrients are what's called fat soluble.
Yeah.
They literally need high quality fat in order for our body to be able to use them.
Yeah.
And when I say high quality fat, we're talking about the difference between omega-3s and omega-6s. Like all plant oils are a higher ratio of omega-6s. There's other omegas, but the main omegas that everyone knows about and everyone talks about because their effects are most well established is omega-3 and omega-6s. And all plant oils, without exception, are a higher ratio of omega-6s. The animal-based oils and fats are a higher ratio of omega-3s. Omega-3s are undeniably, it's on even their Wikipedia, which is a front for being, like everyone's, it's not. It's the Ministry of Truth. And there's documentaries that have come out in the last month that are proving that, if you want to check that out. And so the omega-3s that are predominant in animal fats are proven to be anti-inflammatory, and omega-6s that plants are mainly made of are inflammatory. So
that's interesting.
So not only, and they're not as good of carriers for the for our fat soluble vitamins and minerals. So. And they've been running a campaign for at least as old as I am with the food pyramid to discourage us from even thinking that fats are good to have in your diet at all.
Totally.
And so what they're doing is they're getting people to they're getting vegans to eat high carbohydrates, low fat, which doubly malnourishes them. It gets it to where they can't absorb their vitamins and minerals, and the overt amounts of fruit actually just feed their parasite loads. The sheep milk is higher in fat, but it's also higher than other milks, but it's also higher in protein. And so protein is hard for our bodies to process. It's the hardest of the calories. Protein is actually not a calorie in and of itself. It has to be processed by the body and broken down into carbs in order to be utilized as a... our body can only run off of carbs or fats, and it can't run off them at the same time. It's like a switch. It's either in carbosis or ketosis. That's what the whole keto diet is about.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in keto?
Have
you tried the keto diet?
No, not.
Dude,
not
it's really hard to get into keto because of our parasites. Our parasite loads are connected to our central nervous system, and so if you try to forego eating the carbs to get your body to switch over to consuming fat, your parasites are like, "Fuck, eat some carbs. Don't you want some carbs?" And they start talking in your ear like little fucking demons.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I equate it to. Like the parasites having the ability to they're hooking up to our central nervous system and affecting our thoughts and impulses is the way I see it and feel it, is that it's like the old school cartoons of the devil on your shoulder, like speaking in your ear.
Yeah, I mean that's not far from how it is.
And
right?
the serpent itself is like I
your
think
gut bacteria or your biome is like, if it's wacky, then you crave and feel all sorts of wacky things, right?
like we're told to choose things with our gut, you know. They've actually scientifically proven that our gut plays a role in our mental process.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It's like they call it our second brain.
Yeah.
And I mean, scientists have, and I just think that that the whole vegan agenda, I don't even call it the vegan diet, I call it the vegan agenda, because well, we can see it now that they're starting to the globalists are starting to hypocritically say that you guys will have to be vegan, and they're promoting the bugs because bugs don't have the fats that the livestock do. So it's a good pseudo stand-in that can get us to be like, oh, well, we can give up our meat because, you know, if they can process those crickets into a cricket burger and add enough flavoring in it to where I can't fucking tell, okay, I'll go with it, you know. But really, it's not the same. They're adding plant oils and shit to it. Like the vegan
vegans are eating crickets.
Oh, you haven't heard about the push for vegans aren't, but the globalists who push their global warming agenda, also, that's also part of the agenda. Not saying that humans aren't fucking up the earth. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that man-made global warming is, again, a propaganda term geared to as a smoke and mirror to get you to take the blame instead of blaming what it should more accurately be called industrial society global warming. Yeah. Instead of man-made global warming, like that makes me feel like it's my fault when I'm not the one that used money to manipulate society into this unsustainable shitstorm. Well, they did. So they should be calling it the fucking elite global warming or something like that instead of... Totally. That's what I'm going to start calling it, elite man-made global warming. Because they're the ones that created society, right? Well, dude, we didn't.
If we as just single, like, human beings try to, like, you know, okay, I'm going to stop eating hamburgers, or I'm going to do all these things, stop doing fossil fuels, turn off all my lights, and it's like any you know, like, yeah, it matters, I guess, but then corporations are just dumping.
They're not doing. They're not
that?
changing nothing.
What's
The
that?
elite-
Like DuPont is
Yeah.
just like, is DuPont the one that made the Teflon stuff and just like poisoned like?
Yeah.
thousands of
None of them
people?
are going to change
It's like,
shit.
Doesn't
They're just
matter
going to be.
how
They're going to be
many
hypocritical.
hamburgers I don't eat.
Yeah. No.
That's not gonna make a difference.
Yeah, and the whole idea of these carbon credits, you know that's part of their agenda too, right? Have you heard of carbon credits?
I mean, kind of, but
You know that how they've tied they've worked in they've worked in the idea insanely that carbon in the atmosphere is a bad thing when plants actually need it, and the times in the earth when it's been most thriving and greenest is when there was the highest carbon, because carbon's plants need carbon like we need oxygen.
Yeah.
It's their oxygen.
Yeah.
And they breathe it in, and then their output is oxygen.
Yeah.
And so so carbon is not a bad thing, but their whole global warming narrative and agenda is to tie us into a carbon tax system that then they can further bastardize the explanation of everything that you do in your life has a carbon footprint, and you need to be taxed on that level of carbon that you're emitting, and so they're bringing this back into the hypocrisy of the elite themselves, not following suit ever, is that they're promoting the use of carbon credits. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of carbon credits.
So they started having their corporations do this first. They started subsidizing it to encourage them to do it, so that then that will get us to willingly go along with it, because they know for fucking damn sure that if they started trying to carbon tax us before they carbon tax the corporations, we're gonna call them bullshit on them, you know. But if the corporations are already paying money to buy carbon credits from corporations that are supposedly carbon neutral or neutralizing corporations, basically there's these carbon credit corporations that all of the wasteful corporations are being encouraged to buy carbon credits from these carbon credit selling corporations, who are able to issue them and say you are absolved from your sin, your eco sin.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is that they supposedly are taking that money and going and doing and planting trees and doing things that help to mitigate the carbon of their corporation customers. But really, it's all fucking bullshit, and they're not doing nothing. And even if they were fucking planting trees, it's not stopping the corporations fucking dumping chemicals into our fucking
That's like the whole thing where you have to come back to like, okay, like we gotta give up our lifestyles.
Exactly.
Like the lifestyle itself.
It's got to be gung ho.
working.
It's got. I say gung ho. There cannot be compromise. Van life is going nowhere. It's especially like the aesthetic van life. You know, like the competitive van life. The classist. It's just perpetuating another form of classism.
Yeah, I've noticed not being a van lifer now. Like there's like different kinds of van life. Like anybody in a Mercedes will not. You know, usually people are like, hey, like wave, hey, how's it going? Anybody in a fancy big new, you know,
they're jealous. They're jealous.
That are like really, really fancy.
They're jealous because they have the money, but they
there's no camaraderie.
They care too much about what their friends think and stuff. So they aren't allowed. They can't allow themselves to do the van life, and so they hate down on on nicer van life. And then, like I said, the down by the river van lifers below you won't look at you either, or won't wave to you either.
Yeah.
Or it's less than it used to be.
Yeah. It's interesting to notice. Like, there's a lot of different.
Dude, I think that'd be the biggest. Dude, no one is talking about on any of the van life that I don't watch those channels, but like I have watched them. But I don't think anyone would have the balls in van life to talk about the animosity that all of them are experiencing, coming from people who are socioeconomically above them being jealous, and coming from below them from people that are socioeconomically. Have you heard anyone talk about that?
Yeah, actually.
Have you?
Yeah.
Really?
Not publicly, but I'm on some van life Facebook groups that are like this. This is a 2004.
Are they chalking it up to what we're talking about, or are they just being aware of the
No,
fact that no one's
chalking
wearing
it
them,
up
or people are
to-
being mean? Are they talking about how the people above them are jealous because they're ball and chain to their properties, and how the people below them are jealous because
No,
it's not as
that-
nice?
that
That's
has
what I'm
not
saying.
been-
Like people don't understand what is actually going on there with the animosity. They just know that it's going on.
Yeah.
From what I've
well,
seen.
and people connect it to income. They're like, yeah, if you're spending $200,000 on a van,
People are going to be jealous of you.
no, you're gonna be like, whatever. I'm not like those like gross people in old vans, or whatever. I don't know what the conversation.
Oh, so they're just
is,
talking
but-
about the animosity coming from the sophisticated van lifers, the sprinter
or
van.
like the rich sprinter van.
So they're not talking
community.
about the animosity coming at the sprinter van lifers from both sides. Are they talking about that? That's what I'm talking about. Because I haven't heard anyone talking about that.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think so. It's more like there's those of us that are like more into community and more into like,
Yeah, they have rendezvous, like van life rendezvous and shit.
yeah.
Descend
and
on Bend, did you hear about that?
I did hear about
I wanted
that.
to go to that just because I figured like there's a chance that I would connect with a lot of people with this humble of a wagon. They'd be like,
Yeah.
well, I've downsized into my van. I could downsize into that.
Yeah, that's actually okay. I feel like you might be onto something. That's not a bad idea, Aaron, because there are van lifers that are like, okay, I don't need like certain channels. I can't remember.
I'm gonna start
the channel
bashing van
right
lifers.
now.
Well,
Great plan.
in order to try
Great plan.
to try to bring it down faster than it's already like dissolving, or whatever.
But people, that try to use as little water as possible, or that like utilize like so few resources, or that like won't drive.
Huh?
Like they live in the van, but they won't drive because
Because-
it uses gas.
Yeah,
So like
yeah, totally.
there is that.
There's
And
the
then
want. There's the
other
want to become
people-
more authentically
Yeah.
eco. There's the
Absolutely.
there's a growing upswelling of van lifers who are wanting to become more authentic in their eco approach,
Yeah.
but they don't know how to do it. And if they could see this, I think
Yeah.
that the van lifers are probably more of a realistic what,
Community.
a community
or,
of
like,
people to get to
Yeah,
convince to come demographic. That's what I was looking
Yeah.
for. They're a more realistic demographic to convince to downgrade or downsize
Yeah.
their home and mobility. It seems much more practical than what I've been trying to do,
Huh.
which is trying to promote this to the responsible homeless. Who the fuck is responsible homeless besides me?
Well, I feel like
I know that there are homeless that want to do that, but I think that it's more realistic now that we're discussing this to try to
Yeah.
convince the van lifers to continue their eco
descent.
or progression.
Yeah.
progression.
Ascent? I don't
Ascent,
know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird
Yeah.
progression. Their
Yeah.
eco progression.
Or degression. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the degrowth movement?
I think I might have heard it once. What is it? What does it mean?
It's like
Degrowth.
okay, like I know you don't like the term capitalism, but I don't know.
That's
what
fine.
else to
We
use.
explained. I already explained myself.
But like, so capitalism is like infinite growth, like
Uh-huh.
exponential growth, and degrowth is like just the opposite of that. Like, how do I consume less and just like
It's called rewilding. Is it like
Yeah.
degrowth is like
yeah.
Degrowth seems like it would put a lower throttle on your ability to do what, if you just thought of it as rewilding, it would lead you to realize that there's like a whole
There's like a whole world there.
world down there that you're not seeing
Yeah.
because you're calling it degrowth,
Right.
and it's like you're holding on to
I
growth.
think you're right. Like that. Term
Just
is,
let go
is
of
weird.
economic growth and just
Yeah.
rewild entirely.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and then it'll be easier to see like, oh well, this isn't wild, this fucking metal isn't wild, like and so
Yeah.
you start to put things in a more honest perspective.
Totally. I agree with you. I agree with you.
This has lasted me 2 years though, this roof, and I don't think that's nearly long enough. It's longer than I thought it was going to be, but
I'm working with the lady that is running the wool mill in Montague in California, and she has grass mats that they're making, and I think it'd be really cool.
That's cool.
We're gonna make grass mat basically that is like flexible but rigid, and then cover it with felt. And I think that'd be
Cool.
badass.
That's really cool.
I think that would help the authenticness angle of this to sell it to people.
I mean, trash is treasure. I think is also authentic.
The political boards are
really
already
lovely.
made, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like a little bit like, just the trash is treasure. That's what we have to
I
do,
like that
'cause there's
term.
so much.
Yeah.
There's so much.
It's practical
Trash.
upcycle. It's practical upcycling.
Yeah.
Like I agree with you. Like people that are, I think there's a danger in trying to be purist.
Yeah.
Purist and too gung ho. So there's like there's a certain speed that you need to gung ho in order so that you don't backslide. You're not likely to backslide.
Yeah,
But also, if you go into it too gung ho and you're miserable, then you'll throw your arms up and just go back to the system completely.
Yep.
And so
Totally.
there needs to be a metered escape.
Yeah.
She just stayed in the reasonably rural areas and work traded on farms instead of trying to fucking go way out and be like off grid in the fucking hills.
Yeah.
Shit like that.
Yeah.
And unhospitable soils and shit like that. Fuck that. Like
So
anyone that's
hard.
trying to live up there is an idiot.
Really?
Yeah, like soil is everything. And if you're
Yeah.
living on the side of a hill, it doesn't have as much soil. It's fucking sloughed off. It's ran off. It's eroded. You're gonna have a much harder time producing food either by growing or by
Grazing.
dairy. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't you build the soil back up, or can you build the soil up?
Yes, you can, but it's and it's not hard, but I think that it has to have a certain amount of ideological gung-ho-ness, so that you
And time.
so that you can forego things like tilling. Tilling is like one of the biggest detriments to
Yep.
building soil. But you tell someone not to till in order to plant their garden, and you try to tell them to read One Straw Revolution. Have you heard of that?
No, I should read it. Though.
All of the Asians never tilled. They did. Well, not all of the Asians. I'm sorry. The Asians predominantly used to do a no-till method, where they would just layer the tree clippings and
like
the plants.
hugelkultur.
Yeah. Basically, hugelkultur is the idea of using plant material to embed in the soil so that the soil is able to retain more moisture over dry periods. It's basically the same phenomenon, the same result, by allowing plants to die and to fall and to layer before you try to get plants to grow up in between them, and to leave the leaves on the ground instead of raking them up, and instead of mowing and taking the clippings off.
You just leave it.
Just leave all of it, and it builds up layers, and it composts. It composts on site.
So it's like you're taking out the step of having to schlep around compost.
Yeah, the no-till method is the simplest. Toiling the soil is what Westerners do. That they're just we're taught, I guess, by the Bible or something like that, that it's just gonna be that way. It's hard, But then you look at these Asian groups, these ancient Asian groups, before they got Westernized, or before they got, because there is, when you till, you can plant and you can get return much quicker and much more predictably for a market. And so when markets started, then that's when the Asians started ceasing to do their no-till method.
Do you know which countries?
But the subsistence farmers in Asian countries are still to this day doing no-till.
Huh? Do you know which Asian country? All of them? Or
I don't know specifically, besides providences in China and shit.
oh, okay,
you know?
gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, Kirsten Dirksen, who interviewed you, she just posted this guy. He's in Northern California, and he's built. I think he bought his place in the 70s.
Was it the guy that he pumping the water
Yep,
up, and then
down.
Yeah. I like that one.
And he was talking about no-till.
Tilling destroys the mycorrhizae, and
Right.
that is one of the most important aspects of soil building, because the mycorrhizae are able to break up. They're one of the, besides the bacteria, they're able to break up the rocks into smaller minerals, and then into smaller, more bioavailable minerals for the plants to uptake from the soil. And so when we dig them up like that, and when we till, it breaks up the mycorrhizal, and it also exposes the microbiome, the soil microbiome, to UV light, and it just fucking sterilizes. It's horrible.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to do any no-till gardening. My experience is only with growing on my with my neighbors.
Potatoes are the easiest thing to no-till with, because they're like they literally are, that way of farming,
them, right?
is built into how they like to grow.
Okay.
You throw them on the ground. I throw wool on them, or you can throw hay on them, and their leaves will grow up through. And as they get higher, you just continue to put stack on layers of organic material on top of it, so that they end up creating new roots above the soil that you just threw the potato. You don't have to dig the potato down. You just throw it on the ground and cover it up. So yeah, we've got a lot of shit to fucking untangle for people, but a lot of people are figuring shit out. I mean, like, I'm surprised at how much you know. That's great. I mean, you're aware of. Sorry, I don't want to like say like no, because then it's like some kind of ego thing.
Yeah.
But to be aware of these things, and more of the different interconnected aspects of what's going on is going to be invaluable.
Yeah, for sure.
And but none of it has any point unless we have our own local food security. Not personally,
Dude.
but community-wise.
Totally. I know one of the
Valley-wise.
things that you have said that really resonates with me is like being a prepper for a community versus being a prepper for yourself.
Unselfish
It's like you
prepper.
can't-
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can't
What the fuck is up
survive
with all these
without
preppers? Like,
your
that just are,
community.
I got all my bunker ready, and dude, you get, first of all, your family can't even stand being in the same fucking room as each other. That's why you
Right.
have separate wings of the house that you live
Right.
in.
Right.
You're gonna fucking try to be in a bunker while totally fucking limiting your diet so that your parasites are fucking going berserker while
Yeah.
you're fucking in there. You're gonna kill each other. You're gonna be living in hell.
Yeah.
They're setting themselves up thinking they're gonna be better off, and they're actually gonna be worse off.
Yeah. Well, I should get to driving. I'm gonna
Nice talking with you.
head out. It was really
And
nice.
let me know if
talking
you can connect
you.
with the farms and how it goes. And your
I
progress.
was
Our progress.
looking on.
Your progress is my progress.
I
I'll
was
try to tell
looking
people.
on the internet, right? Just while I was eating breakfast, looking at farms. 'Cause like I said, I have to be in Seattle for a couple months, wrapping up some stuff, and then, and then go and just be on a farm and.
Or the option is, like I mentioned earlier, the option is to make ads to be a property sitter, and then to figure out how to utilize their land while you're there protecting it to grow and or get livestock to produce food.
I love that, and you know what?
That would be I would recommend that first.
Yeah.
Because I strongly discourage people from going the route of wolfing, or seeking out. Like I will never ever again try to get a farm to let me trade for them.
Why is that?
Because if you go to them, they're going to overwork you and they're going to underappreciate you. But if you wait for them to come to you, like that's why I made that face look. I have a huge decal on the back of my thing that says I'm a farmhand and farm sitter. And all I got to do is sit next to the road and I get farm sitting jobs.
Really?
You know? Yeah. Like, it's like that's how I got this.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, and so I think that that people are more likely to be disappointed and want to crawl back to Babylon if they try the subsistence living by work trading on a farm by contacting them and working under their terms, basically begging them.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. What was I gonna just ask you? I was gonna ask you something.
Unless they're friends or something like that, that's the only way I could see it working out.
Yeah. Oh, crap. What was I just gonna say?
Which is called doubling up. Have you heard of doubling up?
Mm-mm.
That's another important option for people to realize is that, like I'm kind of doubled up here. Like this is my friend's secondary property. He lives in Ashland.
Oh, okay. That's what you were talking about on the phone.
Like having moving on to the property of a friend's, so that for the purpose of helping to safeguard it in a post-apocalyptic situation.
Yeah. I know what I was going to ask you, or just mention. It sounds like, well, in our conversation, and you kind of pointed to this, but I'm on some van life site, like groups on Facebook, which I hate Facebook, but it is actually kind of cool.
It's very useful. It's very useful. It's the most
useful.
It's more useful than YouTube for me right now.
Yeah.
Like for actually connecting with people.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, and so there are like a fair amount of van lifers that are interested in exactly like subsistence farming, and it's like a weird thing when you think like
I just finally looked that up last night. I occasionally will continue to look up the same words that I title my videos to see like how mine are popping up and where other people are at with those same words. And I just noticed for the first time a van lifer that had a farm handing title, and she was talking about how she seasonally works to pay for her van life, or she was doing that before she was YouTubing or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah. So is there a group that's been started?
There's not a group, but this person.
How could you find those people or gather those people? What
you
words?
Would have to
like
be
van life,
on...
homesteading. What would you?
Yeah. I would.
What
do
are they?
van
How
life,
are they seeing it? You have better like insight and sympathy with how they see things. So what would be a good way for us to spawn that?
Yeah. Yeah. What would I do? It's like van life. Yeah, van life homesteading or.
Wolfing, maybe van life wolfing, because everyone. Do you think that more people know about wolfing?
About wolfing, yeah.
But a lot of people know about wolfing. But what I've noticed is that people are starting to become aware of it being a ripoff, because not only do you have to pay the membership fee in order to be able to connect with the farms, to sift through their database and find the farms and contact them, but mainly the ripoff is the amount of work trade that you're having to put out in order for fucking a subpar, like. Pleb life,
right? So what's another thing like
pleb life? Oh my god, pleb life.
Pleb life.
I'm gonna fucking start that like it's a fucking positive thing.
So this woman in Maryland is looking at she's got a property, and her goal is to like host van lifers and have people like be able to garden, be able to whatever, and like be able to be somewhere.
Mm-hmm. How is she distinguishing this from being just a wolfing host?
Yeah, like because I don't think it's required. I think you could just pay a fee and just.
Oh, so it could
like,
be
you
an
could
option.
just go and camp.
Okay, so she's got like a Hipcamp. Have you heard of Hipcamp?
Yeah.
So it's like a Hipcamp.
It's really expensive. Like I don't pay for any places.
I heard that they were starting to get expensive.
Holy
They're starting
crap.
to get more glampy or something like that.
$50 a night, and I just park on the side of a road.
Yeah.
Like I told you, I tend to just drive down a road.
No, you can't. If they allow homeless people to fucking camp in their tents on the side of the road, you're damn well fucking allowed to get you to park on the side of the road.
Yeah, I just park and pull up and like try to be a good neighbor. Just like know the laws, know that you're not breaking any laws, or just be like, I think this towns feel different. Like certain towns feel totally different. Like you go to a town and you're just like, oh, like this is pretty cool. I could be here for a while.
And no one say anything. Yeah.
And then there's other places that are kind of like, this would be a little. not as easy.
And there's other places that you could, but it's dangerous because everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
But on a lower economic level than you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to encourage people to do the isolationist approach to like this, and that's why I was talking about how I'm like this close to taking down all the videos in the past that are teaching people or promoting people do that, because that will be the quickest thing to get the establishment to vilify it, and it will also be the quickest thing for it to be, for this life to be devalued or decoolized by it being overran by people who are homeless, just regular homeless people walking around with cows and shit, and then no one else will want to do it because it'll be identified as a homeless thing.
Yeah.
So we gotta get these van lifers to come down is what we gotta do.
I think there's some I can feel some space in there.
How about this as an interim step for van lifers? Downsizing, I guess, is what we could call it.
Yeah.
Downshifting.
Downshifting.
Is
Downshifting.
I've been trying to get someone to do, and the lady that I apprenticed, she got her own dairy sheep, and I haven't discussed this with her yet, but I'm gonna try to convince her into doing this. She's coming up, I think, this next week to visit and bring her sheep. And have you seen cargo racks on the back of that plug into the back of vans? Little cargo racks are like 4 or 5 foot wide by, like, some of them are like this skinny, but some of them are like, you know, like 3 foot deep. I think that it would be a good interim step for van lifers to start toting around one of those and just build a basic cage on it with dwarf Nigerian goats in the back of it. And then every time you stop, you just let them out and they graze.
And drink goat's milk. And that would be...
Well, yeah, or sheep. Yeah, I would promote sheep. It's just that...
I don't like goat's milk at all.
Yeah, maybe I should really start harping against goats in general. And it's just that dairy sheep are... They're starting to get more affordable and starting to get more available.
Are they expensive?
They're twice as expensive as goats.
Oh, okay. And they're bigger. I mean, I feel like that might...
Mine, I've actually downsized my breed. My breed is the smallest dairy sheep that, like, my happy is. Where are they? They're probably out in the shade. Nope. Where are they? Oh, they're over there in the field over there. But my sheep are definitely on the small side. And they do have smaller dairy sheep because people have been intentionally downsizing, been down breeding their size.
Yeah.
And like me, and to make them more manageable by hand. Yeah, sheep are small enough now, specifically Finn sheep.
Fin.
Yeah, Finn, 2 N's. They are a smaller breed of dairy sheep that I could definitely foresee someone creating a cargo rack cage and housing 2 of them on there. And I think that would be not only really cool example for other van lifers as a possibility as a next stage eco step. It would be a huge social boost for them because, I mean, like, oh, look at that van lifer over there with their dog. Oh, who fucking cares, you know? Well, look at that van lifer over there with those 2 dairy sheep, and they're milking them, and let's go talk to them. And I could see it being a very positive thing for the people that see the van lifer and for the van lifer themselves.
It's just like how easy. There's like weather that's really easy to be in a van with, which is like not past like 80 degrees. I don't have an AC or anything. I don't want an AC.
It's harder to park those under a tree. That's why I say don't get any taller than this wagon, because I wouldn't be able to park under these trees.
A tree.
Yeah, that's
totally.
huge. That's huge.
Totally.
Thank you.
And thanks, man.
I'm grateful to meet you and talk with you, and let me know how it goes.
Yeah, I will.
Stay in touch.
I will.